In the late 16th century, England sought to establish a permanent presence in the New World, motivated by expansion, resources, and competition with Spain, setting the stage for one of the most enduring mysteries in American history: the complete disappearance of the Roanoke Colony. Roanoke Island is located off the coast of present-day North Carolina, a region explored by English expeditions during an era marked by ambition, uncertainty, and limited understanding of unfamiliar lands, climates, and indigenous societies. The first English attempt to settle Roanoke occurred in 1585, primarily as a military outpost, but it struggled almost immediately due to supply shortages, harsh conditions, and deteriorating relations with local Native American tribes. That initial settlement was ultimately abandoned, and its colonists returned to England, highlighting the difficulty of sustaining a remote colony across the Atlantic with limited logistical support and unreliable communication. Despite this failure, English leaders remained committed to colonization, viewing Roanoke as strategically important and believing that lessons learned from earlier mistakes could ensure future success. In 1587, a second group of settlers arrived at Roanoke under the leadership of John White, tasked not only with establishing a colony, but also with creating a lasting English presence in the region. This new group consisted of approximately 100 men, women, and children, signaling a shift from military occupation toward permanent settlement and family-based colonization. Among the settlers was Virginia Dare, John White's granddaughter, who became the first English child born in the New World, symbolizing hope for a stable future in unfamiliar territory. From the beginning, the colonists faced serious challenges, including limited food supplies, unfamiliar agricultural conditions, and strained relations with neighboring indigenous groups. These difficulties made the colony heavily dependent on resupply missions from England, placing its survival at the mercy of transatlantic voyages and political circumstances overseas. Shortly after the colony was established, the settlers persuaded John White to return to England to secure additional supplies and assistance, believing his absence would be temporary. White departed with the expectation of returning quickly, leaving the colonists behind with instructions to relocate inland if necessary and to leave a clear sign if they moved under duress. However, events in Europe soon interfered with White's plans, as England became embroiled in conflict with Spain, culminating in the threat posed by the Spanish Armada. Due to the war, White was unable to secure a ship for his return voyage, and years passed before he could attempt to rejoin the Roanoke colonists. During this time, the fate of the settlers remained unknown, as no communication was possible between the colony and England. In 1590, John White finally returned to Roanoke Island, 3 years after his departure, hoping to find the settlement intact despite the long delay. Upon arrival, White and his crew discovered that the colony had been completely abandoned, with no trace of the settlers present. Buildings had been dismantled rather than destroyed, suggesting an organized departure rather than a violent attack or sudden catastrophe. No bodies were found, no graves identified, and no signs of battle or struggle were visible at the site. The only significant clue left behind was the word CROATOAN carved into a wooden post, with the letters CROW carved into a nearby tree. The absence of the previously agreed-upon distress symbol indicated that the settlers may not have left under immediate threat or coercion. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, and also the name of a Native American group known to have had relatively friendly relations with the colonists. This discovery suggested that the settlers may have relocated voluntarily, possibly seeking assistance or integration with the CROATOAN people. However, attempts to investigate CROATOAN Island were hindered by poor weather and damaged ships, preventing White from pursuing the only clear lead. Forced to abandon the search, White returned to England without answers, never learning the fate of the colony he had left behind. Over time, the disappearance of the Roanoke settlers became known as the mystery of the Lost Colony, raising questions that would persist for centuries. Contemporary records offered little additional information, leaving historians dependent on fragmentary accounts and indirect evidence. Some theories propose that the settlers integrated with local Native American tribes, abandoning English identity in order to survive. Others suggest that disease, famine, or environmental hardship weakened the colony before any relocation could occur. More extreme theories involve attacks by hostile groups or secret intervention by rival European powers, though no definitive evidence supports these claims. Archaeological efforts have uncovered scattered artifacts suggesting possible English presence beyond Roanoke Island, but none conclusively confirm the settlers' fate. The lack of physical evidence has made it difficult to validate any single explanation, leaving the mystery open to interpretation. Oral histories from indigenous communities have been examined for clues, though their reliability is debated due to the passage of time. Written records from the period remain incomplete, limiting the ability to reconstruct events with certainty. The Roanoke disappearance highlights the fragility of early colonial ventures and the risks faced by settlers in unfamiliar environments. It also illustrates how historical mysteries can emerge, not from dramatic events, but from silence and absence of information. The Lost Colony stands as one of the earliest examples of a community vanishing without clear explanation in recorded American history. Its story has influenced literature, folklore, and popular imagination, often blending documented facts with speculation. Despite centuries of study, no theory has achieved universal acceptance among historians and archaeologists. Each proposed explanation addresses some aspects of the mystery while leaving others unresolved. The case demonstrates how limited documentation can transform ordinary hardship into enduring mystery. Roanoke remains a symbol of uncertainty at the beginning of English colonization in North America. The absence of closure continues to invite investigation, reinterpretation, and debate. What happened to the settlers may never be known with certainty. The Lost Colony of Roanoke endures because its disappearance left questions without answers. One of the most widely discussed theories suggests that the Roanoke settlers gradually integrated with neighboring indigenous communities, adopting new customs and survival strategies as a practical response to isolation, limited supplies, and the absence of promised resupply from England. Supporters of this theory point to reports from later English settlers describing Native American groups with lighter skin, gray eyes, or knowledge of English words. Although such accounts are inconsistent and difficult to verify through archaeological evidence. Another explanation proposes that the settlers attempted to relocate inland to find more fertile land and safer conditions. Potentially dispersing into smaller groups, it became increasingly difficult to track over time. Environmental factors may also have played a role, as tree ring data indicates that the region experienced a severe drought during the years surrounding the colony's disappearance, which would have dramatically reduced food availability. Prolonged drought could have intensified tensions between settlers and indigenous groups, forcing difficult choices between cooperation, migration, or conflict in an already fragile survival situation. Some historians argue that disease may have weakened the colony, as European settlers lacked immunity to local illnesses and faced unsanitary conditions that could spread infection rapidly. In such circumstances, even a small outbreak could have led to significant loss of life, making organized relocation or long-term survival increasingly unlikely. More aggressive theories suggest the settlers may have been attacked by hostile groups, though the absence of physical evidence such as weapons, remains, or signs of destruction weakens this possibility. Rival European powers, particularly Spain, have also been proposed as possible actors, given geopolitical tensions of the period. Yet no Spanish records confirm an attack on Roanoke. Archaeological excavations on Roanoke Island have uncovered English artifacts, but none clearly date beyond the colony's abandonment, offering limited insight into the settlers' final movements. Investigations at nearby sites have produced objects resembling English tools, though these finds remain controversial and open to multiple interpretations. The ambiguity of material evidence highlights the difficulty of reconstructing events when settlements leave minimal physical traces and documentation is sparse. Oral traditions from Native American communities have been examined cautiously, as they may preserve fragments of historical memory while also evolving over centuries of retelling. Historians must balance respect for these narratives with the need for corroborating evidence, a challenge common in early colonial research. The Roanoke mystery illustrates how historical silence can be more powerful than recorded events, transforming absence into enduring fascination. Unlike many historical mysteries, Roanoke lacks a dramatic final moment, offering no battle, catastrophe, or clear resolution to anchor interpretation. Instead, the disappearance unfolded quietly, leaving behind only indirect clues and unanswered questions that resist definitive explanation. This quiet vanishing challenges assumptions that major historical events must leave clear evidence or documented conclusions. Over time, Roanoke has become a symbol of uncertainty at the origins of English America, representing both ambition and vulnerability. The mystery persists partly because it reflects the realities of early colonization, where survival depended on fragile supply lines and uncertain alliances. Each new archaeological discovery offers hope of resolution, yet often raises additional questions rather than providing closure. Modern research continues to apply new methods, including environmental analysis and advanced dating techniques, to reassess existing evidence. Despite these efforts, no single theory fully accounts for all known facts surrounding the colony's disappearance. The lack of consensus ensures that Roanoke remains open to interpretation, inviting both scholarly debate and public imagination. The mystery also serves as a reminder that history is shaped as much by what is lost as by what is preserved. Roanoke demonstrates how communities can vanish from records without dramatic explanation, leaving historians to reconstruct possibilities rather than certainties. This uncertainty challenges modern expectations of historical clarity and resolution. The Lost Colony continues to inspire research because it represents an unresolved intersection of human ambition, environmental hardship, and historical silence. Its story remains relevant as a cautionary example of early colonial vulnerability and the limits of historical reconstruction. Each generation revisits Roanoke with new tools, perspectives, and assumptions, yet the core mystery endures. The absence of definitive answers has allowed Roanoke to occupy a unique place in historical memory. It stands as one of the earliest recorded disappearances of an entire community without confirmed explanation. The mystery persists not because of sensational evidence, but because of unanswered questions grounded in documented history. Roanoke's legacy is defined by uncertainty rather than conclusion. This uncertainty continues to shape how the story is told and interpreted. The Lost Colony of Roanoke remains a subject of investigation, debate, and reflection. It highlights the challenges historians face when evidence is incomplete or permanently lost. The disappearance forces acceptance that some historical questions may never be resolved. Roanoke reminds us that history does not always provide closure. Its silence continues to invite inquiry. The mystery survives through absence rather than revelation. What truly happened to the settlers remains unknown. Interpretation fills the space left by missing evidence. The Lost Colony endures as an unanswered chapter of early American history. The facts are real. The explanation is up to you.